Hey folks, so tonight I want to try and talk about one aspect of reshelling a Game Boy Advance SP. Now I have mentioned this a few times in a few of my videos. I haven't gone into quite as much detail as I planned on going into in this video, but those videos are like an hour long, and this information is basically buried like 40 minutes in. So, but what I want to talk about specifically are the hinges in a Game Boy Advance SP, because I don't see that this information gets discussed a lot, and quite frankly I think it leads to some misinformation, so I want to see if we can't get that fixed. Now, to start off, there are three different basic types of SP shell. Now we have these brand new transparent ones or semi-transparent. We have the original, the OEM shells that your Game Boy Advance is probably going to come in. And then we have the aftermarket. How do I not have one? I just have one. Well, nonetheless, your aftermarket shells that aren't transparent, the opaque ones. I have most of this shell here. And yeah, this is what you get. Now, I hear a lot of people discussing about how the aftermarket opaque shells, like this one here, are extremely low quality and to stay away. And there's a grain of truth to that. They are low quality, but the biggest factor in how the shell feels is going to be how the console responds when you open it up. Now, this is, of course, an aftermarket SP. It's one of the transparent ones, and the transparent shells are widely regarded as better than these ones, than the opaque aftermarket ones. And while that's true, again, the biggest difference is going to be the hinges. And in this console, I have aftermarket hinges. But I want to talk about specifically what makes the hinges bad and what doesn't make them bad. So to do that, I have prepared a few things here. I have two SP top halves. You'll have to excuse my cat. I swear he was silent right before I started. Anyway, I have prepared these with a screen installed. I didn't cut the ribbon off. I just folded it up so it would be out of the way, because we're not going to actually build a working unit. But I have here an OEM shell with an AGS-001 and an aftermarket shell. This one's in white with an AGS-001 shell. And I have here an OEM bottom shell with a motherboard screwed in, just so that everything has the right weight. And then I also have the gold aftermarket here that we'll be testing. I'm not going to test the transparent shell because, well, quite frankly, this video is already going to be longer than it should be, but because they're widely regarded as close to OEM quality, so I want to test the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. So first we're going to start with the OEM parts, and I know it has an aftermarket cover screwed on, but that shouldn't make a difference. And let's go ahead and take a look at all my options here. So I have a lot of different hinges here. I went out and bought hinges from a few different web stores, and then when I was going to make this video, I found out that I already had quite a stash here. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to start off with my stash, and then we'll get into the ones that I purchased for this video. So let me go ahead and empty this whole thing out, and let's just take a look at, I think this is for a DS. that too. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at some hinges, see if we can't figure some stuff out. So I have here two OEM hinges, and I think these are from different units, but that's okay. And two aftermarket hinges. And the way I can tell OEM versus aftermarket is two things: these metal caps and the hinge parts themselves. In the OEM hinges, you see these metal bits. These give you that, you know, that nice solid click when you open it, and the caps are riveted on the aftermarket, or I've seen some of them have a C-clip on there. I do actually have some somewhere in some SP, but I don't know what it is, and quite frankly, taking it apart to figure that out is not something I feel like doing right now. So here are the hinges. Now let's talk about the hinge caps. Those are the little cosmetic bits that go over the hinge and give your SP color. This is important to talk about because it slides onto the hinge before you install the hinge itself. Now, there are two types of cap. Again, you have your aftermarket caps and then your OEM caps. And, oh no, do I have one in here? Yes, I do. Okay. And so here is the big difference. If you take a look at the bottom here, I don't know how well you can see that. Of course, I picked a bad color for this, but that's what I have. Oh, this one's OEM. It's broken, but it doesn't matter. You can still see how shallow the hole is here. Like you can see, there is less room in here. There's this hollow spot in here, but you can't use any of that space. I don't know why it's like that in the OEM cap. Whereas in the aftermarket cap, you have both of those chambers empty and you have this whole space to work with. That's important because the aftermarket caps fit on both OEM hinges and aftermarket hinges, though not as good as OEM hinges, but that seems to be the trailing theme here. Anyway, if we take a look at the OEM hinge cap versus an aftermarket hinge, you try and slide that on, you notice that the rivet that holds on that plastic disc gets in the way. You can make this work, but you have to open up that second chamber. You have to like Dremel this out or try and cut it out. I've done it before. It was sketchy as hell. I ended up just holding one of these hinges like this basically and running it under a Dremel and just hoping I didn't touch the sides. It worked, but I'm not doing it again. I learned my lesson, and that was dumb. I probably shouldn't even be telling people how to do that. But anyway, the aftermarket hinges have more room because they fit on both styles, whereas the OEM hinge covers only fit on OEM hinges, excuse me. The reason I want to discuss that, like I said, because you got to slide this on before you put the hinge in. I'm not going to worry about hinge caps for this test because it doesn't make a difference as long as you have hinge caps that fit and you install them beforehand. But just so that we're all aware, there is a difference and there is a reason why they are designed the way they are. Now, there is another thing here on the hinges themselves. And I know it's kind of hard to see because of the color of the plastic, but there is this little key, I guess, a part that sticks up higher than the rest. You could see when I hold it this way, that right in the middle there's this part that sticks up higher than the rest. That's important because the hinge is only going to go, or the cover is only going to go on one way, and both aftermarket and OEM hinges have that feature. All right, so now that that's out of the way, we all know how to put on our hinge caps here. Just slide that bad boy on. Bam, done. And then you can insert that in here. But wait, let's get back to the hinges here. I'm going to slide this off just so I don't lose it or damage it by accident. Now let's go ahead and talk about the hinges themselves. So I'm using an OEM shell, so let's take two OEM hinges. Now you might notice that they're different colors, and that's for a reason. These hinges are directional. This black one goes on the left side here, and this white one goes on the right side. But you can't just slam them home. You can't just insert them like this. The SP actually has to be opened to the normal angle that I don't know how to explain it, but if you open up a SP, it just clicks into this angle here. Good Lord. This is the angle that it has to be opened up to. Once you get it to that angle, the hinge will just snap right in. And if you have the hinge cap on, you can just push it in. But since I don't have a hinge cap, I can't fit my finger in there. It just snaps right in. Okay, that's right. Boom, just like that. And then you'll notice nice and smooth. It doesn't click quite the way it should, but that's because I don't have this thing fully assembled. But you can hear that it has that nice loud click. Now removing these hinges, because we want to test the other hinge, there are two ways you can do it. There's a way that works and the way that you should do it. Now you can just open it up to that angle that you slid them in on. You can just jam a screwdriver in there and push, and it will come out. But I've noticed that, that's what I get for leaving that drawer open. I noticed that if you do that, these clips tend to get damaged. You see this spot right here where it's a little bit more white. That's because I stressed the plastic out. Now, I already did break this one. Not just right now, but earlier. In my younger days, before I made this tool here that you can use to remove the hinge without damage, you just line that up, and this has two features here. It has this little peg in the middle to push the hinge out, and then this little ramp outside it to squeeze the clips in gently and only as far as they need to go. Now you can use that. Sometimes they need a little bit of a trim coming off the 3D printer because there's some gunk on there, especially because my 3D printer is garbage. But anyway, we can just insert that, and sometimes it works better. There we go. Once it's lined up, it clicks right in and you push it. And this tool will only go so far because you have to open the SP to finish removing the hinge. But you don't need the hinge cover anymore. You could just take any tool you want and gently press it out. You don't have to worry about damaging the clips. All right, so that's OEM hinges. Now let's talk about the aftermarket hinges. Now, in this case, I don't have a black and white one. I have a white and a blue one. Blue one is the black. It goes on the left here. White one is still white. It goes on the right. Open that up to the correct angle, and you can just snap that in and snap that in. And notice I still have a very nice solid tactile click. That's because my hinges are installed the right way. So before we move on to more tests, let's take a look at some of the aftermarket hinges that I got. Now, I ordered this set from the Sunny Lin store on AliExpress, and you notice I got a black hinge and a white hinge. These look OEM. They are OEM. I actually paid extra to get OEM hinges, and that's fine. You can do that. Just make sure you get a black hinge and a white hinge, because on this store, VV Games store, they offer them in two styles, black or white, right? Well, you have to order black or white, but if you want both hinges, you have to order black and white, and then you end up with how many sets of hinges that you don't need. All right. Now, I'm sure these hinges are perfectly fine. One thing that I am noticing is these actually have the metal bits in there, so they actually should sound quite a bit better than, oh, those are OEM. So let's grab one of these guys. I don't have any of the equivalent white hinges, so maybe I should go back and order some more. Again, this was VV Games Store. So it looks like there's quite a few different styles of aftermarket hinge at this point. Let's try it out, shall we? Now, the tool I made, it is 3D printable if you have a 3D printer. If not, I don't sell them. Sorry. And I don't know any place to buy them yet. I think there's something in the works. Okay. Let's slam that in there. This is not going in easily. There it goes. I still get that nice solid click. Oh, that feels good. Now, it sounds like it's clicking twice, and it kind of is. The first is the top of my shell hitting the bottom of my shell, and then that second is this motherboard rattling around in the case. So if I hold the motherboard, it only clicks once. But that's nice. Now, the problem I often see with the problem I see that people keep mentioning regarding these aftermarket housings is the hinge itself. So let me, I keep saying that, but let me actually get into what I believe the issue is. Let me go ahead and screw this into an aftermarket housing. And I don't think this will make a difference as long as we do it right. But I'll just set this aside because I already have another one prepared. And let's try this out with, let's try the OEM hinges first. Black on the left, white on the right. And these only insert the one way. See these like open grooves at the top and at the bottom here? Oops, I'm sorry. On the sides, that makes more sense. There's this groove here and then this groove here. That goes like that. And as far as I can tell, these are not directional, as in you can put it either this way, or if I can grip it, spin it around 180 degrees, put it that way. Let's click that in. And again, these are the OEM hinges. Now I don't have that nice click, but the hinge itself still feels pretty solid. The only click that you're hearing is the bits of shell hitting, because there's no bumpers or anything in here. Now, it's all right. I would say it definitely felt better in this shell, but it doesn't feel bad. It still snaps. Everything's hunky-dory, I would say. So let's test out the worst case scenario. Oops, gotta get that lined up. And this actually does work on both sides here. Okay. This screwdriver is easier because it's longer and thinner. Alright, so that is really wedged in there. Okay. So let's say you did order some new hinges for your project, right? But you only got 2 left hinges because, you know, that's what half the sellers are selling these days. These will still go in there. Holy cow. And this is part of the problem, right? The left one will go into the left just fine. These ones are tight. They do go in. Or maybe not. Holy cow. Getting these out is going to be fun. It's not even fully inserted. Wow. My screwdriver slipped out and I just damaged my shell. I can't even get these in here. Let me try some other hinges. Even though that is the right hole, these are just insanely tight. Let's try... Oh, those look like the same thing. We'll not try those. Let's try two of these white ones. These are both aftermarket here. That will snap in there. That will go in there. Gotta open it up. Oh, that is so much easier. All right, those both snap in. It's all right. Notice it doesn't give me that click, and it doesn't actually close all the way. Gravity will close it, but it's not closing the way it should. When you get to about here, it should close itself. This, not doing that. But it does snap when it opens. All right, now let's pop out the right hinge, because that is the correct hinge. And let's pop in a left hinge in the right side. Still snaps open, but now it's even worse. It doesn't actually close when you close it. So that's just a long way of saying make sure you get a left hinge and a right hinge. Now, let's pop these both. Actually, no. We'll just pop out the left one. And in its place, do I have another blue one? I thought I started this video with two of them. Well, shoot, apparently I only have the one. I must have been looking at this thinking it was a hinge. Okay, well, we'll use one of these. We'll try and shove this in here this time. Now this is a left hinge. This is supposed to go in here. It's just very difficult to get in there. Now, still, it's not closing properly, but it does open nice and solid. There's a good detent there. It's not closing properly though because I have the left hinge in the right side. So let's pop in. Go aftermarket again. Notice now it snaps closed. Now I do feel a little bit of grindiness with this hinge. I don't really know the best way to describe it, but I think it's just these metal on metal bits. They need to wear in or break in against each other. And that's okay. I mean, it's at least it closes properly. It feels good aside from that little bit of grindiness, but it's really hard to describe what's going on. You kind of just have to experience it for yourself. So if you're just shopping around for hinges, make sure, the most important thing is make sure you get a left hinge and a right hinge. And my preference is still OEM over aftermarket, because with OEM hinges, like I said, you can use the aftermarket hinge covers or you can use your OEM hinge covers. You don't have to use just the aftermarket. But there are a couple more that I haven't gone over yet. Retro Game Repair Shop actually sent me 2 of their offerings here. Now, as far as their OEM hinge covers go, let's crack this bad boy open. It looks like, I mean, they're obviously used, but it looks like you get both a left hinge, or a right hinge, white, and a left hinge, black. And now I've seen some of them where the whole body is black, but you don't need to pay attention to this upper part, just the clip part. The clip part should be white or black. And here's another thing that sometimes happens with these OEM salvaged hinges is the clips are broken. Now the clips shouldn't make too big of a difference, but let's try it out. Let's see what we get. If I can even get this thing out, because, oh wow. I did not expect that to come out that easily. All right, so we still have the aftermarket one in the right. Oh, this is a white hinge, see? I wasn't paying attention. The body is black, but the clips are white, so this is a right hinge. Let's pop in this one. This is a left hinge, but that one has a damaged clip. And this is a right hinge, damaged clip. And I don't think that's in all the way. It's one of the problems with the damaged clips, is the hinge can back itself out. Now, here's something interesting. I'm not getting the close. It's not closing all the way. So that tells me that one of these hinges is not what it appears to be. It opens just fine, but it's not closing, so I'm thinking it's this one. Now where is... I don't even need the tool because this one already has damaged clips. Should just press right out. Yep. So maybe I was mistaken on my initial assumption there. This might be a left hinge, despite the fact that it has white clips. Let's try this one. This one has a broken clip as well. Holy cow. This won't even close. You can see my whole shell is flexing. Let's force it and see what happens. Oh, I think that hinge was just seized. This is even worse. Oof. All right, so that came out in chunks. That probably wasn't good. Yeah, the hinge itself was seized. You can see it's missing plastic all along here. Oh, I dropped an SP. So this thing is pure garbage. It's one of the things you have to look out for, unfortunately. Let's try a third hinge. This is, again, a black hinge with white clips, so it should be a right hinge. Closes properly, but it's, or at least it's not seized, but it's still not closing properly. So maybe the issue is my left hinge here. So we've already replaced the right hinge 3 times now. Let's try another one with black clips. Yeah, still not closing properly. So unfortunately, I think that's going to be a problem with a lot of these OEM salvaged clips, hinges, rather. Because if you look closely, you can see in here that's just solid rust. Well, solid and rust are practically oxymorons. Well, I suppose something can be rusted solid. But not great. And I'm sorry, I know this has turned into a ridiculously long video on something that usually seems so simple. I mean, it's just SP hinges, right? Good Lord. Let's try this rusted solid one. At least it snaps in nicely. Oh, that one actually feels pretty nice. It's still not closing on its own, but at least it snaps open nicely. Ooh, and it actually opens up all the way. So I wonder if maybe I just keep getting unlucky with this right hinge here. Let's try one more. I'm gonna keep trying this till we get it working with my salvaged hinges. Actually, you know what? This video's already gone on long enough. Let me try out. Oh, you know what? That was my Sunny Liu store or whatever it was. I guess we'll go back to one of these aftermarket style hinges. Throw that in the side here. Oh, and that one's not lined up properly. You can see that notch isn't 180 degrees. Let's try that one more time. Oh, that might just be this hinge. Interesting. Yeah, that one's not going in. I think this is just a defective hinge, unfortunately. Which does happen. So we'll try this one. This is for sure a right hinge. It's got a damaged clip, but it's OEM. Sometimes you have to give it a little wiggle before it slips in. I could have also damaged the shell at this point, because I'm not getting that to go in. Oh, shoot. There we go. Just pressed it down with one of these nut drivers. Yeah, still doesn't feel like it's seated properly. It's not closing. I guess this is just a long roundabout way of saying just salvage your original hinges. You'll save yourself so much headache. I guess that too. Is this the one? No, this is my original hinge here, I think. or one of my originals. And look at that, it closes. So yeah, long way of saying, if you're buying hinges, probably want to buy a few sets because they're hit and miss. You know, I didn't try these yet. These are the only ones I didn't try. These are also from Retro Game Repair Shop, but it looks like these are all just left hinges. I don't think any of these are right hinges, but I think these are also the same as the other ones I purchased. So that might be the same OEM there. I guess we'll swap out one more hinge. We'll swap out the left one. So we've got an OEM one in there right now. You hear that nice click when it opened? There we go. So yeah, I'm actually really liking these aftermarket hinges. These, I think they're new. I don't know if there's a right hinge that goes with this one. You know, let's try it on the left. I don't know if I've tried that yet. But so far, either salvaged, as in you salvage them yourself, or salvaged OEM hinges, or these new ones with the salvaged OEM right hinge is really nice. A little crunchy, but I think it'll break in. Well, let's try one of these on the left too. Oh wait, I had that problem, I couldn't get this in. Nothing a little bit of force can't solve. Oh. Well, there you go. It appears that these new ones work on both the left and the right. It does make some noise. I don't know if you can hear that. I don't know where the microphone is on here, but yeah, it snaps open nice and solid. It goes to that flat position if you're one of those weirdos, and it even closes itself. So the important part of it closing itself is that it stays closed, which it'll do. So yeah, it looks like these new style hinges can close themselves, whereas these older blue and white ones, you just need to, oh, that's not it. There we go. Whereas with these old plastic blue and white ones, you need to make sure you grab a white one for the right, a blue one for the left. Or you can salvage your OEM hinges. Oh no, I got them all mixed up. Shoot, now I'm gonna have to go through all these. That might be it. No, I don't think that's it. That's fine. Or you can salvage your OEM hinges, black one for the left, white one for the right. We'll just assume that's it for now. Or it looks like you can take these new metal aftermarket ones and use them on either side, because screw it, who cares? That seems to work just fine. Let's, just to make sure though, let me find that SP I just dropped. Let's swap out the hinges on this, because this is using aftermarket hinges. Oh, but this already has one of those new ones on the left. So let's just swap out the right. There's an unreasonable amount of force involved in slamming that home, but yeah, that's actually really nice. I might swap out one of my other SPs. Oh shoot, I just nicked my hinge, or my shell. Oh well. But yeah, you can hear the hinge, it does make noise. don't know if that goes away. But yeah, sorry guys, I know this was a super long one, but I hope this helps if you're reshelling your SP and it has a weird wonky hinge in it. It just doesn't feel right, and especially if it doesn't close itself. Double check your hinges. Maybe you have 2 lefts or 2 rights, or you just got bum hinges. I had really high hopes for these salvaged OEM hinges, but some of them seem fused solid basically, and these are just pure garbage. We don't want these. No one wants these. Yeah, you can see the whole plastic housing was spinning around the metal hinge because the metal is fused solid. That's not good. That probably damaged my shelf. But anyway, I hope this helps. Sorry it's been a long one, but I think I summed up my point in the first few minutes anyway. So thanks for watching, guys, if you made it this far, and have a fantastic night.